Good evening, and welcome to the Miracle of Prosperity here on the New Thought Media Network. My name is Reverend Jim Webb, and I serve as the senior minister of the Tacoma Metaphysical Chapel, as well as the author of The Soul of Prosperity, Prosperity from A to Z, Create Your Self-Manifesting Vision Board, and the upcoming book, 30 P's to Prosperity. So on this show, The Miracle of Prosperity, we look at prosperity from a number of different viewpoints. We look at prosperity not only as money and stuff, but we look at prosperity as this inner sense of well-being that is then outpictured in our world as relationship prosperity, where our relationships are harmonious as a mirror of our inner harmony. We look at prosperity as professional prosperity, where in the words of one of the great prosperity teachers, we have a wonderful job with wonderful pay where we perform a wonderful service in a wonderful way, according to Florence Scovel Shen. We look at spiritual prosperity, the peace that passes all understanding, that shows up in a world that is peaceful and easy to navigate in the form of logistical prosperity and a life without struggle. And of course, we look at financial prosperity, which is not just money and stuff, but it is a life where money and stuff is no longer an issue, concern, or a problem, but a tool for joy, peace, happiness, and fulfillment. So we look at a number of different ways that we can achieve and experience prosperity, and we call the show The Miracle of Prosperity because we also use A Course in Miracles, for it is a wonderful tool for prosperity. Now, the reason A Course in Miracles is such a tool for prosperity is because we have been miseducated about prosperity. We have learned things like money is the root of all evil. We have learned the concept of sin and guilt, and that we have to atone for our sins by suffering on the earth plane for some reward in the afterlife, which is the anathema to a prosperous, joyful life. And A Course in Miracles teaches us something different. A Course in Miracles teaches us that God's will for us is perfect happiness. A Course in Miracles teaches us there is no sin. It has no consequences. A Course in Miracles teaches us that God, being love, is happiness. And as we are at one with God, we are in alignment with love, and our outer world aligns with love. And that loving outer world is an outer world that is prosperous. So A Course in Miracles offers us an opportunity for re-education, because prosperity begins in the mind, for that is where our prosperity is created. And it is just one tool of re-education. So our quest is not necessarily for outer stuff, for as the Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all else shall be added unto you. The kingdom of heaven lives within you, which is what Jesus taught us. Our quest is to re-educate ourselves so that within us there is a repository of truth instead of the repository of miseducation that has caused us such pain, suffering, struggle, and lack. So we're going to do a different dimension of re-education tonight, because spirit has a totally different perspective than our miseducated minds. And spirit can help us. Spirit can guide us. Spirit can support us. And spirit can re-educate us. And so we have tonight as a special guest, Uma Alexandra Bepat. She is the author of the book Chronicles of a Spirit Walker, which came out in 2023 on Amazon.com. She's the head of the Lotus and the Light Spiritual Center in Virginia, and she's an amazing medium. However, she is so much more than a medium. She is one who uses spirit to re educate us with new truths so that we can then allow ourselves more prosperity. So it's my honor and pleasure to welcome you, Uma. Welcome.
Hi, Jim. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
We're so glad you're here. And you have been working for quite a while through your Lotus in the Light Center, and I love your new book. So tell us a little, first of all, about the Lotus in the Light Center. Then talk to us about mediumship and your journey there.
Absolutely. I am the CEO of the Lotus and the Light Metaphysical Center, originally called Lotus Wellness Center. I started my center in March 2009. I've been the CEO, owner, founder for 14 years now. I've worked on over 14,000 sessions with clients in either energy healing, classes, psychic mediumship readings, soul alignment coaching, all of the above. And I really love the work that I do because it was a testament for me to see that once I got myself out of my own way, the
Mm-hmm.
sky is the limit and the
Yes.
prosperity and the abundance flows. So once you get that kind of knowledge, you want to share that with other people and say,
Yes.
hey, you can do this too. Because I think we're all supposed to be living in abundance, is my feeling about
Yes.
it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you recently did a book to expose your work to a wider audience. Tell us about your book, Chronicles of a Spirit Walker.
It is. It's an Amazon best-selling book. I was quite surprised about that because whenever I write my books, I've written two books, and
Mm-hmm.
whenever I write my books, I like to have a conversation, and that's the best comment anybody's given me. It's Uma, I feel like you're just talking to me. We're sitting at a kitchen table talking. The Chronicles
Yes.
of a Spirit Walker is my journey as a medium. So it
Mm-hmm.
talks about some things I struggled with being
Mm-hmm.
a developing medium. It talks about things I've taught other mediums because I'm a teacher. It
Yeah.
talks about some client testimonials of things that
Mm-hmm.
happened in session and it actually came true or whatever else. So it's a really great book to read about the death, the dying, the beyond process, and to
Mm-hmm.
have a little bit more of an inside look, an intimate look into that.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I certainly enjoyed reading it because it was just like talking to you. It was wonderful that way. And I would recommend it to all of our guests. So, one of the things we're going to do tonight is we're going to take your questions, and Uma is going to offer you some intuitive guidance on how you can create more prosperity. And in other words, get out of your own way because prosperity is God's idea. So, Uma, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your journey of getting out of your way so that spirit could work through you to allow you to cause you to allow more prosperity. Tell us just a little more about that while
I have
everyone types their questions and comments.
Sounds good. I have to really give credit to my teachers, my mentors, and this is
Mhm.
why I'm a spiritual mentor, because I feel people like Reverend Jim, myself, and others who are teaching, we really help you remove that blindfold, you know? So I give a lot of credit to my mentors in the energy healing disciplines. I'm certified in over 40 modalities and also in the psychic mediumship disciplines because even though it's different genres, somehow they both have the same message. So once you're
Yes.
hearing the same message over and over again, you are meant for more, Uma. You deserve more. You can have more. It just starts
Yes.
to become your way of life. That's why we always say words of affirmation, right? We speak
Yes.
positive words over ourselves every day because
Hmm.
eventually you're going to start to believe it. So once I
Yes.
started working with my mentors and doing mindset reset techniques, I do some at my studio. It's
Hmm.
really easy to get into the flow of, well, what else is possible? What else is there?
Hmm.
What else can happen for me?
So
So
tell
it
us a little bit more about a mindset reset technique and explain
Yeah.
it if you would.
At my center, before I do any program or anything with a client, I tend to
Hmm.
practice on myself first. I'm like the guinea pig. So
Okay.
there was one year, it was just a hard year. My center was struggling. This was pre-pandemic. I was
Hmm.
having love and relationship issues. My health
Hmm.
wasn't the best, my knees. And I just said, this is not it. This is not it.
Mm.
So it took me 10 months to do the mindset reset work. It was a
Mhm.
combination of law of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing all the law of attraction techniques,
Okay.
positive affirmations, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then also the actual mindset reset, which for me is very simple. It's if I have a negative thought, I take the time to change it to a positive thought.
Mm-hmm.
That was the hardest part of it because, Dr. Joe Dispenza says after the age of 30, 95% of you is committed to staying the same.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the biggest thing I want to tell everybody out there
Yes.
is if you struggle and you're over 30, you're okay. All right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be okay
Yes.
because it's only 5% of you want to change. 95% of you is like, "No, we're going to stay the same. Everything's fine." So, it took me 10 months because in the first few months, I would probably have a negative thought 20 to 30 times a
Mm-hmm.
day
Yes.
and you
Now,
become aware of it.
did you find that many of those thoughts were variations on a theme and there was a core thought beneath them?
Of course, it was always I'm not worthy. I'm not enough.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that stems back to my childhood because of I
Yes.
grew up in a third world country and I
Okay.
had my own little trauma with that. But
Mm-hmm.
you will find the theme because it's just you start to notice things too when you do mindset reset work.
Mm-hmm.
When I work as a coach with my clients, I'm always
Yes.
pointing things out, and they're like,
Yes.
"Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, I didn't even realize I was doing that." And that's why I really believe in the mentoring coaching that we do because
Yes.
you need like a third party outside of you to catch
Yes.
it as it's happening, you know?
Absolutely. Some coaches call that the starfish syndrome because a person is walking around blind, flailing around, and you can look at them objectively and say, see, you can't see because you've got a starfish on your face. And they're like, I don't have a starfish on my face, I just can't see. It's like, yeah, that's because you have a starfish on your face.
Yeah, the way I describe it to my clients, because sometimes I do discovery calls, free calls where people can call and just talk to me about what
Hmm.
programs are you offering. And a lot of times it
Yes.
comes down to money. They don't want to pay for it, right? And I say
Yes.
to them, this is the best way I could describe mentoring to you. It's like
Hmm.
having an old radio, like those transmitter radios where you got to turn
Hmm.
the dial.
With the dials, yes. Hmm.
Yeah. So you can do it on your own because you can, go and do your mindset reset and all the stuff on your own.
Hmm.
But it's going to take you a while to find that station. A mentor knows the station. So they could
Exactly.
just walk over there and turn it to the station and boom, you're
Hmm.
in. Less time, less energy, less frustration because the mentor helps you get there.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the things that I like to do when coaching, counseling people, either intuitively or as a coach as well, is when listening to them, understanding the thing, and this goes back to what you were saying, understanding the default positions and the underlying thoughts from those default positions. They think they're the default, they think they're true, and these things guide their lives.
Yeah,
And when they realize, wait a minute, that's not true. Wait a minute. That's just something I'm telling myself. Wait a minute. That's just a story. I love seeing their eyes light up when they realize I've been lying to myself all this time, and I've been keeping myself in this little corner of the room when there's this whole fabulous mansion waiting for me to explore it.
exactly.
And that to
Because
me is wonderful.
it's
And in my
huge.
go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's huge. I love what you say about that because when people come to me to work with me, a lot of times I want to become a healer, Uma. I want to become a psychic like you. I want to be a medium.
Yes.
I want to own a center.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, all that is great, but it's a two-part process. That part
Yes.
you're talking about is the ascension process.
Yes.
You got to go through the deprogramming,
First,
right?
you have to own yourself before you can own anything outside of you.
Exactly.
In the Bible, they say, Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven. And Jesus said, The kingdom of heaven lives within you. And then all else shall be added unto you. So I love what you talk about in your book, Chronicles of a Spirit Walker, how you had to move through so much of your inner stuff and re educate yourself. And that is one of our objectives here on the Miracle of Prosperity, to re educate our viewers so that they can have the prosperity mind that creates the prosperous world. For
Mm,
as Ernest Holmes said, all ideas held in mind reproduce after their kind. I'm, of course, paraphrasing him badly, but that's the essence of it. So we have to reprogram our minds first. And so spirit can help us with that because spirit sees from a totally different perspective than our miseducated minds. So we're going to answer some questions on each person's, all of our viewers' prosperity as they type them in. Now we've got a couple that we can work with before break, and while we're on break, and while we're working with the first couple of questions, everybody type in your questions to Uma, and we'll get to them. Okay? Let's first start with Shay and her question on generational prosperity.
Okay, where is the question?
Shay Michelle Davis says 8:11 p.m. Yes.
Do I still have a generational issue around prosperity? Shay, if you feel so, like I go off of the wording, and if you feel so, then yeah, it's still there. Then it's still there. But are you located in DC or some tie to DC? Because I don't know why I got drawn to DC with that comment, but I feel like there was never enough for you growing up. So because I feel like there's something about hoarding and just like holding on to things, like afraid to let things go or give things up. Like I need to have stuff around me. I feel safe. Does that make sense, Shay? Because I just feel like drawn to saying that, yeah, you do have some generational issue around proper prosperity, but when I tap into your energy, it feels more about like holding on to things and not letting things go. Guys, with energy, it has to be even exchange. So if you want to invite more in, you have to let stuff go. There is a law called the law of detachment. You can't hold too tightly to something. I'm on the yogic path, which we have the 10 principles. And one of the principles is aparigraha, which is it's the opposite of greed. It's about just making enough and having enough. You know, you're in Colorado. Okay. I don't know. For some reason, I got drawn to that DC energy, but the rest of the stuff you understand, right, Shay? The rest of the stuff you understand. It just feels like you have to work through this. If I let things go, if I let people go, if I let anything go, it's going to be okay. There's more coming in. So more for you, the faith aspect. I feel a lack of faith with your family. And that's because of the generational stuff you guys have gone through where you've had faith and it didn't turn out exactly the way you thought it was going to turn out. So then you take it as, I'm not trusting my intuition again. I'm just going to leave that alone. So yeah, there would be some work to be done there. Yeah.
Yes. And we got Spirit is on a party line. So when Uma Alexandra B pad is open, I open too. Some of you
Yeah.
might have noticed my eyebrows twitching, and
I saw
that
it.
happens when Spirit comes working through my third eye. The
Just looking in
resistance,
there.
because spiritual energy is such a high energy, and my third eye is kind of solid. Some have called me a blockhead. That resistance causes my eyebrows to twitch, so I put on my glasses so you don't see it as much. But what I was getting around that, as Spirit was whispering in my ear from my perspective on it, it was prosperity is simply love
Hmm.
in manifestation.
Yeah.
And the challenge for you, Shay, was that it didn't seem as if there was enough love flowing through your family unit to you in your formative years to cause you to feel prosperous. And so, what it is important for you to understand, and this is important for everyone actually, is that the source of love is the source of all. That is God. And one of the things that it is important for us all to let go of is the demand that love come through channels that were unable, unwilling, or unequipped to flow love to you, either because of their own trauma, their own circumstances, or their own life path.
Yeah.
And so to open to prosperity may mean to let go of the demand that it come in a certain way. In my book Prosperity from A to Z, one of the things we talk about is untying God's hands,
Mm.
releasing the insistence that the love, because prosperity is an aspect of love, come in a certain way, through a certain channel, at a certain time, under certain circumstances. Understand that God is the source, and that God can work through an infinite number of people, places, and things to bring us exactly what we desire, if not more so, when we let go of the demand that it
Right.
come in a certain way. And so, what I was feeling as Uma was offering your message was that that could be applied to your generational issues to set
Mm,
you and others free.
I like that.
And that's what I was getting as she was doing her message, and Spirit was working with me as I was tapping into the energy.
I
So we've
love
got
that.
some others. Any other thoughts on that, Uma?
No, I like it. I think that sums it up really well.
Okay. Well, I know you all have some other questions, so feel free to keep typing them in the comments. We're going to go to break so we can read them here on the New Thought Media Network, and we'll be back to answer more of your questions on prosperity.
I was made in the image. I was made in the image of love. I was made in the image. I was made in the image of love. Here and now, I can see I was made beautifully. I was made in the image. I was made in the image of love. Beyond books and words and songs, at the gate of all my longing, leaving certainty behind. I take one step and you come running.
And we're back here on the New Thought Media Network. We want to thank some of our viewers for offering their comments, and we would love to address them and to offer you intuitive guidance as it relates to your ability and willingness to allow the prosperity that God wills for you. And let's start with Bella. Let's start with Bella.
All right, let's see, Bella. Okay. I feel prosperity is an energy within I reside, but it does not always manifest in the physical. Is my continuing to feel this way real or wishful? All right, that's a really good question. So, I am a law of attraction soul alignment coach. And one of the things I do with my clients is teach them the 5 steps of manifesting with the law of attraction. The very first thing you want to know is that before it manifests in the physical, it has to manifest in the non-physical. So what would that look like? Let's say I wanted a red sports car, okay? I have to think about it, dream about it, envision it, write it down, vision board it. How I know I'm going to get that red sports car is when I go outside and I start seeing red sports cars everywhere. Or I turn on the TV and there's somebody driving the car that I want. When you start to see those little telltale signs, that means that your energy is in alignment with the manifestation you're desiring. So it's quickly on the way to you. If you don't see things or you're not seeing any manifestations, it's not that it's not meant for you. It just means that your alignment is not there. And how can that happen? There's so many ways. I can think about, oh my gosh, I really want a red sports car. Oh, but the monthly payments on those things. Oh, I really want a red sports car, but what would people think if they all of a sudden saw me driving all of those are canceling out the original manifestation that you sent. All right. So that's what I would say, Bella. I hope that you understand that if you're not seeing it in real time, it just means that there's a block. I like to say poison arrows because every time we make a manifestation, guys, it's like shooting an arrow to the universe or source or God, right? We were shooting arrows saying, this is what I want. And God, being the beautiful creator, is going to say, you can have anything you want. You're my child. You can have anything you want. But we will send that beautiful arrow. I want a red sports car. And then we send poison arrows. But I don't know about the monthly payments. And I don't want people looking at me. And red, isn't that the color that's usually stolen? Cancels out.
Yes, I love that because the God within us, the part of us that remembers, knows, and affirms ourselves as beloveds of God, that part of us says, I deserve this red sports car because it would bring me joy, satisfaction, and excitement. And our inner saboteurs are the ones who were like, well, I wonder what people would think of me.
Exactly.
Isn't that the Lord giveth and taketh away? So isn't that the kind that gets stolen? And, so the God self is the top of the iceberg, the part of our consciousness of which we are aware. The inner
Right.
saboteurs are whispering in our ear almost imperceptibly and getting us to shoot poison arrows after we've shot the golden arrow. And chapter 9 of my book, The Soul of Prosperity, looks at our inner saboteurs, how to hear them when they've been whispering and we've been heeding them without hearing them, and how to retrain them, re educate them so they support our desires instead of sabotaging our desires.
Correct.
And so I just love what you said about the poison arrows. That puts it into so
Yeah.
much perspective. Thank you so much.
And that comes down to the deprogramming. This is why
Yes,
when I work with people, I'm like, before we even go to that next step, we got to go
yes,
backwards before we can go
yes.
forwards. Because what's the point of me giving you a pot of gold? And we talked
If you
about this
say
earlier.
no to it,
And you don't know how to use it because
right.
Jim and I were talking about this earlier about it's a mindset. If you have a
Yes.
scarcity mindset
Hmm.
due to generational trauma, your upbringing, your experiences, you cannot receive that pot of gold. Look at how many the majority of lottery winners are
Broke within
bankrupt.
a year. They're
Yeah,
broke within a year.
bankrupt. So you got to
Hmm.
change this and then everything else opens up, Bella.
Yes, in order to change this, you've got to look at not only what is on the surface, but the unconscious mind, those saboteurs that have been hidden there, and the
Yeah,
truth that you need to teach them to redeploy them to support the yes that God offers instead of arguing with God and telling God no.
there you go.
So thank you. Thank you so much, Bella. Now we've got another question that is wonderfully effective for useful for everyone. And this is Risa Bird, who wants to know about weight.
Okay, I want to know, am I holding on to weight because I don't feel worthy of showing my true self? In other words, am I hiding behind the weight? Risa, you already answered it. I don't even know why you wasted my time. Of course you are, because listen, guys, you got to trust your knowing. You have to trust your knowing. You writing that tells me you know exactly what it is about and how you're holding on to it. Weight is a very funny issue because I've manifested a lot of great things in my life, the amazing business, my amazing partnership, my like just everything. But for one reason, I cannot manifest this weight loss, and I'm easy to say that. I mean, it comes and it goes, it comes and it goes. I feel that weight. There's so many things there with weight. Risa, I'm tapping into you. Something I don't feel worthy showing my true self. Uh, Risa, oh gosh. Okay. I don't want you to have to put your personal business out here. Um, but just answer this question for me. Were you growing up when you were growing up, were you very beautiful? Were you getting a lot of attention, like unwanted attention, you know? I just have to ask that question first because where's Risa? Is she still in here?
Yeah. New comments on the bottom, love. Just hit the arrow.
Yeah, last thing I see is Tina. Great, I'm the joke. God bless. That's the last thing you've seen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Risa, are you in here? Oh, all right. She's not in here. So I'm still going to answer it though. I'm still going to answer it. Basically, weight, there's many different reasons why people hold on to weight. One of the reasons I feel that is tied to Risa is that she's had a lot of unwanted attention and it is a form of masking my true self, like how gorgeous and beautiful I am. Let me go ahead and pack this weight on. And the reason why I'm thinking this is for you, Risa, is because this is one of my issues. I was somebody who was molested as a child. So I've learned to kind of pack on the weight so I don't look as pretty, hopefully as like a defense mechanism. But she's not here to answer for herself. But I do agree with her that she is hiding herself. We all do when we hold on to weight. We're hiding ourselves. Yeah.
Yes. And the guidance that I'm getting from Spirit around this whole issue is a different way of saying what you just said, and that is about safety.
Yeah.
The phrase I heard from that question was, I do not feel safe. And the answer from Spirit was a quote from A Course in Miracles: nowhere in God's world is the beloved of God unsafe.
Mm.
And the aspect of inner work that is useful is cultivating the consciousness of the child of God. The cultivating of the consciousness of the child of God overlays what we've learned, what we've seen, and what we've experienced with an energy of loving deservingness until that energy of loving deservingness is the energy with which we vibrate. And the energy of light has healed the pain and the shame from
Mm.
those places where we were unsafe, where we felt that caused us to
Yeah.
feel unsafe. And that ongoing process of spiritual light therapy in those pockets of they're giving me the word thing, unprocessed, unspoken
Yeah.
shame heal us. And when we feel safe, we will naturally allow ourselves to be in physical balance. And they're giving me this story, the story from this book that I read years ago called The Gabriel Method. And it was
Mm.
about how the mind sends a message to the body in terms of what weight it needs to be in order to be safe.
Mm.
And the body then heeds that message, and without even knowing it, the body will assume that weight, even if the body only eats carrots every day. The body will still assume that weight because the body is saying, turn these carrots directly into sugar because this is the weight I need to be in order to be safe. So it has to do with
That's
allowing
trust.
spirit into our mind, experiencing ourselves as the beloved of God until the part of us that is God and is the beloved of God knows that nowhere in God's world is it unsafe. And when that deep feeling of safety permeates the deeper layers of consciousness, the body will naturally move back into balance. And in the meantime, bless yourself just as you are, for where you are is indicative of your journey, and every step of your journey is sacred and holy.
Oh, Risa's back. And that makes so much sense, Rev, because when I'm in my flow where I
Mm-hmm.
feel confident and assertive and powerful, the weight,
Yes.
like my partner will always be like, "Wow, babe, did you lose weight? Like you're glowing and you look skinnier." And I'm like, but then when I'm in that scarcity mindset again, that fear mindset, then
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's almost like I pack it on, you know?
Yes. Yes.
So,
You know, they're showing me a camel. And the reason that they're showing me a camel is
or
exactly. I don't even have to tell this to people because we know this because we learned this in fifth grade science class. A camel packs on water because it believes it's in the desert. Well, guess
and
what? Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, you can change. See, this is the hard part with both of us being channelers is spirit is
They just keep working with us.
truth bombing us, and it's gonna be hard, y'all. Just pay attention, just hang in there.
Let's work with it, baby.
We'll work it. We got spirit here today. But the reason for holding weight can change because I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I first came to America, I
Mm-hmm.
was overweight, but that was more because I came from a third world country and food
Mm-hmm.
was not always available.
Yes.
So I would overeat because there
Mm-hmm.
were nights I went to bed hungry.
The
And
camel mind.
right, so there's that. But
Mm-hmm.
then I got out of that living here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really American because I've lived here the longest out of all the
Uh-huh.
countries I've lived in. And
Uh-huh.
I don't have that scarcity mindset anymore. But the fear
Yes.
energy,
Mm.
yeah,
Yes. Yes. Okay. We had a question from Reverend Jane. That was I. Oh, and then we'll do Rudy Rojas. But we had a question from Reverend Jane that I think is universally applicable to so many people.
nice. Hi, Uma. I'm in a much better place with manifesting prosperity now. That's wonderful, but still feel some fear that I won't be able to continue expanding it to cover every need. I get that, Jane, because I recently up leveled in my mindset, and I'll tell you what happened. Before the pandemic, my center, and you can ask Reverend Jim about this, was one of the, if not the largest metaphysical center in Northern Virginia. So everybody knew the Lotus and the Light. I mean, I would walk on the street and people would be like, "Oh, you're the owner of the Lotus and Light." We were thriving. We were making a lot of money. We were having a lot of classes. It was a lot. And then the pandemic hit, and I watched slowly as one by one my friends closed their centers. People that were massage therapists with me gave it up, went back to working 9 to 5s, and the fear stepped in. And I'll tell you guys, I struggled to bring my center back. But this is what we have to remember. When fear steps in, logic steps out.
Mm.
So you got to logically look at your situation, Jane. All right. And the way I would say it is look at all that you have accomplished. Look at all those times you got like an intuitive hit. You should do this, and you ran with it and it worked out well. Right? When you start to feel that fear coming back in, that is when you become very aware of one thing, Jane. And the one thing is this: you're not in alignment. Because when you're in alignment with your higher self, with your God, with your source, fear cannot exist. I wrote my first book. It's called The Awakened Life. I have here it is. And I talked about one of the chapters talked about you can't live on Fear Street and Love Avenue. You got to pick a lane. When you get
Yes.
a letter to your house, it's not coming at the corner of Fair Street and Love Avenue. It's coming 111 Love Avenue or 666 Fair Street. Okay. It's not coming to either or. So
Yes.
whenever you catch yourself, Jane, in that energy, you want to remind yourself, wait a minute, this is the devil talking literally, because God would not be telling me this stuff. God wouldn't have me feeling this kind of way. He gave me the whole earth to go forth and multiply, and not just multiply fertility wise, multiply everything. He gave
Yes.
me 4 seeds. I'm supposed to come back with a whole store. Right. So when
Mhm.
you start to feel that fear and that panic rise up, that's when you catch yourself and you say, wait a minute, I'm not in alignment with my higher self, with my source. Let me get back in alignment. I don't know what you do, but for me, that's yoga, that's meditation, that's taking a time out from people and just being by myself in the quiet of my home. Right. That's taking a walk in the woods, reminding myself just how beautiful I am. I don't have to do anything. It's not called, guys, the law of effort. It's called the law of attraction. So when you start going into that zone of, I feel fear, I'm doing good now, but will I have enough for later, for retirement? You're not living your God essence, right?
Mhm.
So that's when you give
Yes.
yourself a little mental check. You're welcome, Jane.
And I have a little mantra for that. When you feel fear, go to the chair. And the Reverend Jane knows what that means. Go to the chair and receive the guidance of God, the embrace of God, feel the presence of God. Because when you got fear and love cannot occupy the same space,
That's
according to
right.
Muller, Legacy of the Heart. But so when you get in the chair, the fear, and A Course in Miracles has a lesson. Fear, fear has no place here now that love is in my heart, and which basically says the same thing. When you feel the fear, go to the chair. Go to your place, whether it's, as Uma said, walking in the woods or whatever. Go to the place where you connect with spirit and allow spirit to offer you the truth, because a false idea appearing real, FEAR, false
Yep.
evidence appearing real, has popped up from your unconscious mind for you to process it, so it is no longer a part of your energy, so it is disempowered from manifesting in your world. Catch it before you give it too much energy to manifest, transform it, and that's how we can do that. Now I want to go to Rudy Rojas, and he has okay, work with Rudy if you would.
He said, I understand it, but I continue to block it somehow. It feels like I've been working on this for years. I meditate daily, affirmation, and let it be. You need a mentor at this point. I had this one client come into me and she was like, Uma, for 7 years, I've done this, and this, and this, and this. And why am I not thriving? And this and that. And I said, okay, are you tired, wearing yourself out? Are you ready for me now? And I'm telling you, in 1 month, that's all it took. 1 month. This girl got into a relationship, got a new job, got a new apartment in 1 month. I didn't do anything magical, guys, but sometimes you got to get out of your own way. You can't be the teacher to you, because what are you teaching from? What are you teaching from? You're teaching from what you already know, but that's why the mentors come in, right? Because they are teaching you from a different place. So
Absolutely.
that's what I would say to you, Rudy, is that you gotta work with somebody. If you've been doing everything on your own and you still can't find that channel, then get yourself a mentor. There's Reverend Jim, there's the other Reverend Michael, right? There's so many people at your church, I'm sure, that can work with you and counsel you into getting it right.
Amen.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Now our beloved Tanya, who I think is Tanya from California, Sound Bath. So Sound Bath had a few questions. I want to go back up
Okay.
to her previous question, Sound Bath. So let's scroll up to Sound Bath.
Where it says question how to recognize and clear human resistance.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's the question that's universally applicable.
How to recognize and clear human resistance to desired internal spiritual changes. You recognize it by how you feel. You recognize it by how you feel. If I have a thought and it doesn't feel right, or if I have to do something and it doesn't feel right, that is my whole existence saying to me, Uma, this is not the right path. Now, here's the thing. Your intuition is your GPS on this planet. I want you guys to think about it this way. We didn't just land here, okay? There was a whole process. There was God, there was us, the soul, there was the talks, there was the preconceived notion of what this is going to be like, all of that. When we came here, did you really think we were just dropped off by a spaceship and left our own devices? No, we came here with tools. And the biggest tool you have is your intuition. Your intuition is your GPS that only works for you. Now, when you become a trained psychic medium or channeler like Rev, you can now use this ability to help others. But for the majority of you, your intuition is good for you. It's telling you what is the path. Your higher self communes with God daily. That is the soul. That is the spirit part of you, right? Your higher self knows the contract. Your higher self knows why you're here, what you want to accomplish, where you want to go, who you want to be. You don't have to figure it out. The ego, which is you, only concerned with your day to day, you don't have to figure it out. All you got to do is trust what you feel. So Rev hit me up and he said, Uma, I want to have you on this show. The energy of his question aligned with where I am going. I said yes right away. Even though I don't really do any interviews on Sundays, I said yes right away. It lined up. That's how you make it out. Okay. That's how you make it out, is that you have to feel it. If it feels right, if it feels the way I say it is, if it feels light, it's right. If it feels strong, it's wrong. Right. So that's the way you're going to start training yourself. That's the way you start training yourself. What's her name? Tanya?
Tanya, yes.
Tanya. Do you want to go out tonight and party? Do you want to go to the bar? And in your head, in your gut, you're feeling like, oh, I don't really want to do that. You listen to that. You listen to that. And this is why, in my opinion, because I've read the Bible, I've read all the holy books since I was 12. I finished the Bible 4 times by the time I was 12, front to back. And Jesus said, when you follow me, you have to leave everything and everyone else behind. And to me, as a child, when I was reading that, what I heard was, when you followed the path that was meant for you, you got to let it go. This pleasing other people, this doing what other people want you to do, you have to let it go. And that's how you know you're on the right path. I hope that helps, Tanya.
Yes, absolutely wonderful. So we've had some wonderful questions tonight. We're going to call through all of the comments, and we're going to do one more question after the break, and then we've got some surprises for you. So we're going to go to break right now. If you haven't authored a question yet, you still have time while we're on break. We'll look through them while we're on break. We'll do one more question, and we'll be back after the break here on the New Thought Media Network. We'll be And we're back here on the New Thought Media Network. And I tuned out our intro music and I was going through the questions. But for those of you who are veterans of the show, you noticed that the chair didn't fall backwards this time. So we didn't get our laugh tonight. We'll have to get it some other way. I want to thank you, Uma. While I was on break, the angel, one of the most brilliant angels that God lent to the planet, DeAndrew, through whom I met you,
I love
texted me. I said, wow, how aligned is that? Because he's the one who introduced us. And he is truly an earth angel, one of the most brilliant angels that God lent the earth. And that's alignment. So we had one more question that we just flashed up
Okay.
from Tonia. And so let's work with that last question we got from Tonia. We just flashed it up.
Um, which one?
It just came up a moment ago on the screen.
I think that was her saying thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay. Great. Okay. Yeah, and we got the 11-year-old boy question before. We
Yeah.
did that. Yeah, beautiful. So what are you working on these days, Uma?
So I'm getting ready to go back into mentorship.
Uh-huh.
I am a live streamer on TikTok and the Plenty of Fish app. So a lot of my time has been taken up with streaming 5 to 6 hours a day, doing readings, giving talks like this. So I'm coming back into my center doing classes. So September 6th, Wednesday, I have an online 4 week intro to mediumship course. And
Hmm.
again, when I train people, I'm not training them to become developed psychics, mediums, healers. I'm just training people to use what they already have, their God given talents, to make their lives better.
Mm.
So we learn how to communicate with our spirit guides. We learn how to communicate with spirit, how to sit in the power, how to blend, the basics, Reverend, that we've done before as mediums and psychics and channelers to just get people comfortable with the other side and to get them to
Yes.
see it's not scary. It's full of
Yes.
love and they can do what we can do to help themselves. So I have that coming up. And then, of course, my classes and events at the center. What are you up
Yes.
to these days?
Oh, you shouldn't have asked.
No, because you're so busy. And I'm like, well, I hardly see you. So what are you up to?
Yes. Well, I'm working on a new book that will be released on September 1st. It will be birthed on the anniversary of my birth, September 1st. It's 30 P's to Prosperity. Now,
Oh,
this is a follow on to Prosperity from A to Z, which is key concepts of prosperity in a very compacted format, because that was a follow on to the Soul of Prosperity. But when I got to the P's of Prosperity from A to Z, I had 30 of them. I couldn't decide which one to put on, to use. So I said, well, heck, that's another little mini book. So that's coming out on September 1st, 30 P's to Prosperity. And in the meantime, for those of you who know me on Facebook, be my friend. I have a number of different little morsels from Prosperity from A to Z. And I want you to look at these little morsels. You'll learn a lot. But I also want you, if you can, to share them with others, to get everybody ready for the 30 P's of Prosperity so that it can debut at number one. Because that then gives it so much more exposure. And what you're doing by doing that is giving everyone the gift of prosperity.
I love
Now, I've
it.
also got a couple of new classes coming on September 11th and September 14th. On September 11th, I've got Spirit Speaks on past, post, pre, and future lives. And
Mm,
this is guidance from Spirit for each person on past lives that may be impacting your current life, post life things that they've done with you and with others in order to decompress you from this life, pre life planning that you do with Spirit, and one of the most fascinating aspects of this is creating your future lives from a different perspective. Because you see, for a lot of us on the planet, especially you light workers, you all say, oh, I don't want to come back because this is too hard. This is the last hard one. Because of all the healing that you've done now, because what you've done is over all these lifetimes, you've amassed all this stuff to heal. You said, I want to get it done now. So you came into this life, and this life may have seemed more difficult than you ever imagined, but that's because you were healing such a backlog of stuff. Because this is the first time on in the Earth's most recent evolution that there is enough energy to heal it. So from now on, the coast is clear for you to create a life of joy and fulfillment and ease. And this came through spirit to me as a joke. I said, I love to eat, so next life I want to come as a chef so I can cook and eat, and that's all I want to do is cook and eat. And spirit said, well, then you can design a life where you do just that because you've worked through all the no's. And so from now on, God is saying, if this is a life you want, then here's the yes, go do it. And so we're going to all learn how we can heal and program ourselves so our next life is so joyful. So that's what we're doing starting September 11th for 6 weeks. And then on Thursdays, we're doing healing family relationships. Because so much of our discontent is, as Shay's question indicated, so much of our discontent is as a result of family relationships that have impacted us negatively. And as we heal those family relationships, we can heal our lives. So those are the things that I'm up to. You can find out more about all my stuff on my website, www.revjimwebb.com, my classes and workshops and all that stuff. Or you can text me and I'll give you more information. But we've got a lot of good stuff going on. And I want to thank you, Uma, for being our guest this evening. Our viewers, thank you so much for being such a light and such a guiding, healing force. Thank you so much. We're going to have you back. God bless.
I would love to. I would love to do this
That would be
again.
so wonderful. Thank you so much. And I want to thank all of our guests, and I especially want to thank our producer, Reverend Michael Mangus. God bless you, Reverend Michael. And that's it for tonight here on the New Thought Media Network.